Welcome back everyone, it's Scott with BikeRide.com. Now 2024 is off to an exciting start for the electric bike brand Himiway. They've released 3 exciting new products to kick off the biking season here in North America. And it's all about fun in the sun as the days get longer, with a big emphasis on the fun, because BikeRide.com has managed to get our hands on the new C5 electric motorbike. This dirt bike styled e-bike features a 750 watt rear hub motor, and it's ready to rip it up off-road. So come along as we test out the new C5 from Himiway and see what this electric motorbike is made of. Now before I roll the intro, please give me a like and a subscribe if you haven't already to the channel. You guys make all of this possible, and we want to keep bringing you the best bike content available. So now let's get started and ride some bikes. So starting it off as always, what is the Himiway C5? Well, I was excited to see Himiway's new offering, the aptly named C5 electric motorbike. An electric motorbike is an accurate description of the bike, which is prominently displayed on the Himiway website. Despite having a 7-speed drivetrain and a set of traditional bike cranks attached to this thing, the C5 is anything but conventional, even by e-bike standards. It features a frame style and a front fork which are similar to a small dirt bike. Think an 85cc pit bike if you're in the moto world. Plus, the C5 rolls on massive 4-inch wide tires, designed specifically for Himiway by Kenda. They feature a beefy tread pattern that would not look out of place on a gas-powered dirt bike. Further adding to the motorbike style of the unit is the inverted front suspension fork, plus a large front headlight and a long integrated saddle, identical to a dirt bike. Now this results in a very cool look for the bike. Plus, with its thumb-style throttle and a powerful 750 watt motor, it's got some kick to back up those looks. But how is the C5 gonna pedal? With a traditional crankset, although it is a little bit shorter than standard at 145 millimeters, linked up to that 7-speed drivetrain, it retains the ability to pedal, although it's clearly not its intended power source. Let's move on into the pro and con and see how this bike performs during testing. Our first pro for the bike is that powerful throttle and how you can use it for throttle-only riding. This bike definitely has excitement written all over it. And from the moment you sling your leg over the C5 and push down on that thumb-style throttle, you'll feel a true need for speed. The C5 is pushed by a powerful 750 watt nominal motor, which is capable of over 1,000 watts at peak output. Plus, with its 86 Newton meters of torque, you don't feel the need to spin the cranks. The bike was a lot of fun to ride, and I enjoyed being able to use only the throttle for much of that riding. Even with hills, you only need to pedal on grades which are over approximately 10 degrees. Adding to the fun is definitely the unlockable top speed. With the standard Himiway unlock code 0510, you can thank me later, it can cruise up to 28 miles per hour on throttle power alone. This high speed limit and powerful motor meant the bike really felt like a little dirt bike. So if you're looking for an electric motorbike and you don't want to spend more than $2,500 US, this might be the perfect fit. Our second pro for the bike is that high capacity battery we have for long range riding. Himiway is definitely known for long range capacity that it packs into every bike in its lineup. And the C5 is no exception, as we managed to go over 28 miles using primarily throttle power. This range test was completed while riding off-road terrain, which included lots of starting, stopping, and hills, a combination that would normally leave most e-bikes out of battery in about half the time. So I was pretty impressed with the C5's capacity and capability when it came to throttle-only riding, something which is pretty essential if you're gonna make an e-bike in this moto bike style. And our third pro for the bike is that dirt bike style. Finally, the C5 is fun because of the way it's designed. The styling of the body and the riding position, combined with its rear air shock and that front fork, make you feel like you're out riding an electric dirt bike, precisely as Himiway intended. It has a large set of aggressive tires that would not be out of place on a real dirt bike, and they are definitely a step above other e-bike tires. the C5 also has that overbuilt frame and a dirt bike style saddle and a slack head tube angle. All features that really increase its ability to travel comfortably off-road and downhill. The bike is even pretty fun to ride through dips and jumps. Other assets include the stiff inverted front fork, oversized tires, and that overbuilt frame. Combined, they make the bike very stable at speed and while cornering, allowing you to take it over 35 miles per hour on steep paved descents without any discomfort. And now we've got to get started on the cons. Today we're going to have 4 cons for this bike because I actually found an additional con a little bit late in testing that I really felt needed to be added in here. And I'm going to start off with that one right away, which is the battery and its location and how challenging it is to remove and also put this battery on the bike. I'm just going to go out and say it. If you don't need to take this battery off the bike, don't even bother. It takes an incredible amount of force to remove the bike from the rails that it's sitting on. So much so that at first, I didn't think this battery could come off. But spurred on by the fact that there's definitely a locking mechanism and Himiway actually describes the ability to take the battery off, I knew that I had to give it a try. So the first thing I'm going to point out about this is that the instructions Himiway provides in the manual for the C5 are not correct when it comes to the battery. They indicate that the battery should be moved to the right and then it'll drop down from the front first. Now the first part of this instruction is correct. It definitely needs to move to the right in order to unlock off of the frame. But the rest of the instructions don't apply. The whole battery will drop down as a single unit after you've moved it far enough to the right. Now it takes a considerable amount of force to get this thing moving, partially because it's very hard to find a good place to grip the battery in order to apply enough force without actually moving the whole bike. So you're gonna have to find a way to hold the bike while you get a hold of that battery, most likely from the back and the front, and give it a really good yank to get that thing off there. It's pretty easy to smash your fingers during that process, and the battery definitely falls down due to its weight after. Now that's not the end of the hardship. After you've taken the battery off and you want to reinstall it on the bike, it's equally challenging. First, you have to line it up with the plastic rails, and then make sure that it's perfectly flush along the top. Next, you have to slide it to the left with some considerable force, and then it'll be kind of seated. But don't be fooled. Trying to turn the bike on at this point most likely won't work for you because the battery is not properly seated. I had to actually go and apply a lot of force to get the battery to finally clunk back into its locked position where it's making full contact for those power points. So I was definitely very disappointed with how challenging it is to get this battery on and off the bike. I'll tell you one thing, once it's on the bike, there's no way that it's coming off by accident, but you have to make sure it's properly installed, or else it's just sitting there on the bike and your bike won't even work. But luckily, you really don't need to take the battery off. So I would advise charging it in its location, which further makes this bike a little hard to maneuver and store. Our next con has to do with the battery as well, but this one involves battery level fluctuation. During use, the 5-bar battery level would show a very quick descent, which started just a few minutes into the range test. While operating the throttle at maximum thrust, the display would drop a bar, suddenly showing 4 bars. Letting back on the throttle would allow the meter to jump back up to 5 bars. This continued for the entire range test. The battery meter would drop a single bar after a few moments of power being applied. Letting off the throttle and coasting would bring back the bar. The constant fluctuation made gauging the estimated power consumption and range very challenging. I was getting worried as I approached the 20-mile mark, since the bike had dropped down to just 2 remaining battery bars, and it was actively fluctuating between 2 and a single bar. But the bike threw another surprise here. It managed to complete another 8 miles. Even when the display showed a single bar remaining, the fluctuation continued, as it would drop to display its low battery warning, which is a flashing empty bar. The bike still had lots of pep and carried me for about another 1.5 miles. So ultimately the bike has a very large capacity and range, and it takes a really long time to discharge. So the taper of the battery is definitely consistent throughout the entire test. But regardless, that little bit of fluctuation increased my range anxiety, and made it hard to know how much I had left in the tank before I had experience with the bike. The next con for the bike is the pedaling position. The C5 really looks nothing like a traditional bike, but it does feature a 7-speed drivetrain, which allows it to retain the option to pedal if you so choose. The bike also features a torque sensor, which is normally a worthy upgrade for e-bikes. In this case, however, I was left less than impressed with the bike's ability to pedal. The torque sensor was definitely helpful while riding more technical terrain, but I found that it required heavy effort to push the maximum assist from the motor, and I would need to stand up in order to exert enough force on the pedals before I saw that watt meter max out. This really pushed me to use the throttle rather than pedal in most circumstances, except when I was riding steep hills, where I would pedal while also using the throttle in order to gain that maximum assistance. Pedaling the bike was definitely not comfortable. The bike felt small for my 6-foot height and long legs, despite having a maximum claimed height range of 6'4". The saddle features no adjustment, and despite the bike using a shorter crankset at 145mm, the pedal position was still cramped. Overall, the bike really felt tuned for throttle riding. The cranks and pedals are only present, it seems, to fulfill its e-bike title for legal purposes. It's notable that even on the Himiway website, they describe the bike as an electric motorbike, not an e-bike. So I would not recommend buying this bike if you enjoy pedaling. And finally, the last con for this bike is the fact that it's a large and cumbersome unit. The bike doesn't claim to be small, and this is good because at 86 pounds with an overbuilt frame style, it's anything but light. While this weight and size are not a problem when you're under power, it does make lifting, storing, and transporting the e-bike more challenging. The inverted dual crown fork also impacts its turn radius, forcing you to lift the bike to maneuver it in tight circles when you're in a smaller space. Its wheels are also large, with huge 20-inch by 4-inch tires. The bike's going to require a special vehicle-mounted rack that's capable of handling the wheel size and the unit's weight. These bikes are really on the edge of a comfortable weight for lifting. Because of their shape, they're cumbersome to lift, and they're very close to the limit of what I would want to pick up. I find anything over 90 pounds causes discomfort for most users who don't want a workout while loading the bike. So if size and space are a concern, this might not be the bike for you. It will not maneuver easily indoors, and I'd definitely be hesitant to lift this bike often or attempt to walk it upstairs, even with the pedal assist or that walk mode. So what does it do best? Well, the C5 excels at off-road riding while using that throttle, and the torque sensor is also a pleasant companion on some of the more technical terrain. But in general, I definitely found the most fun was using the throttle on this bike. Those who would enjoy a dirt bike but choose to go electric are gonna love the C5. I could see it doing well for youth or smaller riders especially, offering a quiet electric motorbike for riding on or off-road. It could also be used for high-speed, throttle-only commuting. With a large battery capacity and a comfortable seating position, at least when you're not pedaling, it'd be great for trips under 30 miles. It offers consistent performance and great stability at speed. So this is a great option if you want to infuse some high-speed fun into your daily commute. And what are some reasons to look elsewhere? The key reason that I would avoid the C5 is if you're looking for something other than an electric motorbike. The unit is really a far cry from a traditional bike, or even most e-bikes. Its style and design really replicate a dirt bike, with a quieter motor and no exhaust fumes. So if you plan to pedal often, or you're looking for a bike without the bulk and size that comes with this unit, you're going to be better off looking into less stylized and bulky e-bikes. I'd also be really hesitant to recommend this bike to larger riders. Personally, at 6 feet tall, I felt cramped already when pedaling the bike. Less so during regular use when I was operating the throttle rather than pedaling, but it didn't feel as large and fit to my size as other examples of electric motorbikes, such as the QuietKat Lynx that we recently tested, which was considerably larger both in length and height. It was also heavier. This bike really feels similar to small 85cc pit bikes for those who are in the moto world. For the frame and geometry, it really only takes one look to see that the C5 is not your standard e-bike. It looks like a small dirt bike, and the geometry and seating position reflect this. It has a long integrated saddle, which doesn't offer any adjustment. The only way to change the seating position is by sliding forward or back on that seat. Now, I did enjoy the wide body of the C5, which really feels identical to having a small dirt bike under you. It allows you to squeeze your legs to lock onto the body, something that's not possible on most bike frames. Riding under throttle power is comfortable, even if it's a little small for my size. I found myself pushing back on the seat to get a more relaxed position. Now, this did not apply to pedaling. No matter my position, I felt cramped when I was pedaling, and it forced me to avoid it in favor of the throttle in most situations. The frame itself is well designed and strong, and it has no flex present, no matter the terrain under the bike or the speed. In general, I enjoyed the bike, no matter what I was riding over, be it loose gravel, hard-packed dirt, or pavement. It all zipped by at up to 28 miles an hour as I toured my local trails, getting to know the C5. Another notable feature of the frame is the paint or the graphic wrap that they've used on these bikes. It has the appearance of a kind of abstract mud or dirt stain all over the bike, in kind of a camouflage pattern. In my opinion, it looks pretty cool, and it really disguises the presence of the first dirt and grime that you get on the bike. So you're gonna feel less inclined to need to clean this bike frame often because of those good looks. Also, it's a bike that just looks good with a little dirt on it. Next, taking a look at the measurements that we've got. This bike is not applicable for a seat tube measurement, but looking at the head tube angle, we have an angle of 66.8 degrees. A reach measurement of 13 inches, or 33.02 centimeters. A stack measurement of 19.5 inches, 49.53 centimeters. A standover height of 31.8 inches, 80.77 centimeters. And a virtual top tube length of 29.4 inches, which is 74.67 centimeters. We've got a saddle height of 33 inches, 83.82 centimeters, and a wheelbase of 47 inches, which is 119.38 centimeters. Next, moving on to the motor. The C5 uses a powerful 750 watt nominal motor, which will push over 1,000 watts of peak output. Combined with that max torque output of 86 Newton meters, the bike was a great companion, no matter the terrain. However, it did show its weight and inefficient pedal position during our hill test. Facing grades over 12 degrees could definitely force you out of the seat to help that motor out. In most circumstances though, the motor was more than capable of powering you with throttle power only, and it showed good torque for getting started or for sections of the trail that require frequent acceleration. The cockpit on the C5 was pleasant and streamlined, much like the rest of the bike. It really matched the style. A large LCD display greets the user, and it features a little bit of color and has a great high contrast appearance. I love the contrast because it's easy to see the information clearly, even in bright sunlight. It also has all the necessary information, including a watt meter, which is in the form of a bar at the bottom of the screen. It has speed, assist level, trip, odometer, and light and charging indicators for that USB port. You can also plug small items into the attached USB port to charge on the go, and that port's located on the battery. The LCD is controlled with a 4-button control pad, which is also streamlined and easy to use. It uses a standard button setup, with up and down buttons to control the assist level and scroll the menu, as well as a power and function button. The standard long press of the up button is going to turn on the lights, while long pressing the down button activates the handy walk mode, which will allow you to move the bike at a low rate of speed for an assist. It's very helpful with a heavy bike. You can also access the advanced settings to change the bike's programming, including voltage and wheel size. There's also a second inner menu to the bike, which is unlocked with the standard Himiway lock code, 0510. After you've unlocked it, it'll allow you to adjust the speed limit all the way up to 28 miles an hour. And a thumb style throttle sits on the left, with an Altus shifter slung underneath the right side. This is all capped off with lock-on grips and those Tektro brake levers. Next, taking a look at the battery. The C5 has the standard 48-volt, 20-amp-hour battery pack that Himiway is well known for. It's a great asset for a powerful and fast bike. And the battery on this unit is also unique because it features its own stylized lighting on both sides. Press the light button and hold it for more than 5 seconds. This light button is located on the battery itself. This activates a multicolored lighting effect, which is displayed on both sides of the battery. Pressing the button again lets you scroll through a few different pattern options, which include flashing patterns and a breathing option. It's a fun additional style option for the bike that some users are going to enjoy. Now, I found the battery to be a strong companion for the bike, capable of over 28 miles of heavy off-road use during our range test. It's a heavy battery with a long charge time, but it makes up for this with consistent range. We managed to go 28.7 miles for a total of 968 feet of elevation attain over almost 2 hours, with an average speed of 15 miles per hour. Next, we're going to take a look at the charger, battery removal, and keys. So the C5 uses a 54.6 volt, 3 amp output charger, which is capable of recharging the battery in 6 to 8 hours. And the charger plugs into a port on the side of the battery. The same charge port is used whether the battery is installed or removed off the bike. So as I mentioned earlier, don't bother removing this battery unless you have to. The charger is nicely branded with the Himiway logo, and the logo lights up to indicate that charge status. In order to remove the battery from the bike, you're going to need to first insert the key to unlock it. After turning the key, it takes a really solid pull to the front of the bike to disconnect it from the battery port at the back. I had some serious trouble getting it off this bike, as you're going to see from the video. It really takes a ton of force, and it's not easy to get it back on either. You have to make sure it's really lined up against the plastic rails at the top of the battery and then firmly slide it to the left. And even once it's firmly slid in place, you're going to want to give it another good shove to get it fully seated, and test that by trying to remove the battery after. If it's not seated correctly, it's going to pop right back out on you. So definitely the battery was a bit of a con for me and how hard it was to remove and install it on this unit. Next, the drivetrain. And the C5 has a nice Shimano Altus 7-speed group set, which I find pretty pleasant to shift with its trigger style shifter slung underneath the bars. It uses a 14 to 28 tooth cassette with a 46 tooth crankset, which is sufficient for riding in most circumstances, except when it came to speeds over 20 miles per hour, where you could definitely find yourself ghost pedaling as the high speed overtook its capacity. It was not a huge issue on the C5 because I really tended to use the throttle primarily, especially when I was traveling at high speeds. Otherwise, this would have been a bigger con for the bike. Now, when it comes time to stop, the C5 features a nice set of Tektro HD E3 520 hydraulic brakes, which is an upgraded model of the E350 brakes that I often rave about in testing. I've found them to be reliable companions on many high-speed bikes, and I trust Tektro as a brand. The new upgrade is great. It moves from a 1.8mm to 2.3mm rotor thickness, and it increases the pad thickness to 5mm. This gives great confidence over the bike's lifespan, making the rotors less likely to warp under heavy use. During testing, the bike and brakes offered consistent performance. They managed to bring the bike to a stop in a measured and reliable manner. And the results of the brake test were very consistent with those of other models tested, coming in with a total distance to stop from 20 miles per hour of 19 feet. The bike and tires also performed well under the strain of stopping. They offered good traction and a flex-free frame that makes you feel confident, even under the strain of stopping at high speeds. For the wheels, tires, and fenders, the C5 has a custom tire, the Himiway by Kenda. This 20-inch by 4-inch tire features Kenda's K-Shield technology and an aggressive tread pattern. They are thicker and stiffer than most e-bike tires, which allows them to offer excellent traction and performance as well as puncture protection. I felt confident on the wheel set from Himiway, even when riding over sharp, rocky terrain at high speed. The tires also performed well on other substrates, such as loose gravel, sand, and hard-packed dirt paths. During our braking test on pavement, the bike stopped reliably, which was definitely assisted by that grippy tire compound. The bike's also equipped with a single fender on the rear wheel, which assists in keeping splatter and road debris from hitting the bike. It does not, however, have a front fender, so it relies on the battery and body of the bike to keep debris away from the rider. The large tires are going to require a vehicle-mounted bike rack that's capable of handling the increased size. When it comes to safety features, the Himiway C5 has your standard safety features which are found on most e-bikes. These include a set of brake inhibitors, also known as cutoff switches, on both of the brake levers. These assist in cutting the motor as soon as the brakes are applied to bring you to a safe stop. The bike also features a bright front headlight. This headlight features an auto on-off feature, which is controlled by a light sensor which is located in the main LCD display. It's nice not to need to worry about turning on the light when you're entering low light situations. The C5 also has an integrated rear light, which functions as both a rear light for visibility and a braking indicator for enhanced rider safety. And next we've got the contact points, starting off with those grips. The C5 features a nice set of lock-on rubber grips, which definitely felt confident and firm on the bike with no movement on the bars. The grips were nice and sticky underhand. I enjoyed using them and I found them similar to many quality mountain bike grips. The saddle on the C5 was definitely comfortable for riding, but it was distinctly different than many other saddles. It's designed like a dirt bike or motorcycle saddle and offers the same performance and feel. The only issue I experienced with the saddle was that it didn't offer any adjustment. While this didn't affect the bike's comfort while using the throttle, finding a comfortable position to pedal from was challenging due to my height and leg size. I preferred riding the bike with the throttle only, so I didn't have to worry about the seating position. And the pedals we have are a nice flat platform pedal made from aluminum with medium-sized pegs. During testing, they were stable and offered me no issues. Sometimes you can judge an e-bike by its looks, at least when it comes to the C5 electric motorbike. This unit lives up to its name, offering high-speed off-road fun. Himiway's added its signature high-capacity 20 amp-hour battery to this unit, allowing it to reach considerable distances through challenging terrain using only the throttle. So it's a bike that is going to make moto heads and high-speed lovers rejoice. But it doesn't come without a few downsides, particularly when it comes to its size and weight. The torque sensor also was only of small benefit because of the bike's uncomfortable pedal position, which really didn't allow you to get sufficient power to the pedal in order to maximize its potential. All in all, if you'd rather use throttle than leg power, then you're going to love this electric motorbike. Is this bike for you? Check out the detailed specs at bikeride.com and see user and expert reviews. You can also check out other great e-bikes and see them rated to find your perfect match. You have a question or something you want to say? Let me know in the comments and we'll start getting you some answers. I try to answer everyone's comments personally. If you like this video, give me a like and subscribe so that we can keep on bringing you the latest e-bike reviews and news. We do this for you guys, and you're the ones who are going to be able to tell us what you want to see next. I'm Scott with bikeride.com. I want to say thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy the ride.